Big Bend National Park is a big park. It has 3 distinct districts: the desert, the mountains, and the river. It's almost like having 3 parks in one. Coming in from the north, from the town of Marathon, you drive through a big, expensive desert. There is a little fossil exhibit that was kind of interesting, but you end up in Panther Junction, where there's a small garden and the roads split off to the other parts of the park. The river section is the most fun to visit. It's got 3 big areas: the Boquillas Canyon area and the Boquillas Crossing with it. The hot springs area, which is a trail that leads you to a nice hot spring by the side of the river, and the most beautiful part of Big Bend, a must-see site, the Santa Elena Canyon. And you know there's a canoe on the other side. And the other side is indeed Mexico, and I think that's the canoe that comes over. They have a little display of little knick-knack gifts things, and you can put money in there and take what you want, and they come and collect the money every now and then. Very interesting concept. Boquillas Canyon, on the southeast part of the park, is a beautiful canyon that's carved out by the Rio Grande. On the one side of the United States, on the other side is Mexico. The parking lot has a nice overlook that overlooks a bend in the Rio Grande, and the hiking trail that goes along the riverbank is absolutely beautiful. Donkey in the middle of this path here. Is it domesticated or just sort of standing there? Loretta thinks it's a statue, but
no, it blinked.
It blinked? Yeah. Okay. So why is there a donkey here? Boquillas Crossing goes from the Big Bend National Park into Boquillas del Carmen. You go through the U.S. side, where the ranger tells you about certain things not to take back, and they basically tell you exactly what's going to happen when you get to the Mexican side. Then you walk down this path, and you hop on a little rowboat, and you pay $5 for them to row you across, and later on for them to row you back. It is a very short crossing right across the Rio Grande, and it's everything very relaxed. This crossing is not open all the time, so you gotta check the schedule before you go. All of this is extremely relaxed. It is a very, very quaint way of crossing an international border. It's not by road, it's not by train, it is by boat. Now, because of the huge national park on the US side, as well as the huge nature preserve on the Mexican side, it is very difficult to go anywhere, even after you cross the border. The desert-like environment is extremely harsh on both sides. So even if people are going to cross the border illegally, they're facing a tremendous odds of survival across the Big Bend National Park. So there isn't really much problem with illegal crossing at this part of the border. Well, we are now in Mexico. We're going to go to this town, Boquillas, I think it's called, Mexico, to have lunch.
Tacos.
Tacos. I suppose we're having Mexican food, huh?
Yes, yes. Tacos.
Once you cross the border, you're supposed to go through this little trailer here to go through Mexican immigration. When we got there, there was nobody there. As I said, everything's very relaxed, so we decided to have lunch first. Well, we're at the Jose Falcon restaurant here in Boquillas, Mexico. And this is an interesting name because Jose is obviously a Hispanic name, but the Falcon reminds me of Italian mob for some reason. So it seems like Falcon could be an Italian mob name with a Jose. It's a just interesting combination. But we are having burrito and tamale and outdoors in a beautiful day. This town basically lives and dies by the tourism that's coming from Big Bend. Right after 9/11, when they closed its border crossing, the town essentially disappeared. It's very difficult to actually make a living here because the nearest town for them to get supplies is literally 200 miles away. That's how isolated this town is. So hats off to all the people who live there and make a living there. There was a man who is a father of the person that owns the place, and he's just having a grand old time playing his guitar, relaxing, singing way out of tune, but it's all very fun to watch. The Hot Springs Trail, which is a trail that's by the river that leads to a little hot spring that people bathe in, and is just super relaxing. And the trail goes along some cliffs that is also very interesting to look at, and it's just a nice relaxing walk. Without a doubt, the highlight of the park is Santa Elena Canyon, which is at the end of the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive. Okay. We are on our path to Santa Elena Canyon,
Santa Elena, okay.
which has cliff walls that are up 1,500 feet on both sides, 17 miles long. We're at just the mouth of it. Coming up is a Rio Grande, you see in front, and the mouth of the Santa Elena Canyon, which, as I said before, is 17 miles with sheer cliffs on both sides.
On the left is Mexico, and on the right is the U.S.
Yes, and it takes about a 3-day float trip, I think, to go through the 17 miles. Nowhere to take out in between. The Santa Elena Canyon Trail is a fabulous hike that takes you a couple of miles into the canyon. Along the way, there are some fabulous views looking from above back at the Rio Grande. And you can see the reflecting pool, that the water is really, really still, and it's almost hard to tell where the wall starts and where the water starts. But you can see the cliff on both sides. The end of the Santa Elena Canyon Trail, and much to our surprise, because we haven't read about this before, that this is very echoey here.
Echo!
Wow, this is really echoey.
It's a canyon.
Woo!
Ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh. Neat. You can see here the fossils of to symbolize it. There was a seabed here. You can see the shells and things like this here, and so it's really neat. There's the fossils.
Chisos Mountain, rising all the way up to 7,600 feet in elevation, has the only lodge and restaurant in the park. It has an entirely different climate zone. We're in the middle of the Chisos Mountain range, and it's quite interesting because we're in the basin and we're surrounded by the mountain. If you look all the way around, we're surrounded by mountain range, and this is sort of like, you can't really see this from the outside. You can only this is sort of like a little bowl that we're in. Windows Trail is a fabulous trail that meanders about 4 miles into the Chisos Mountain, and you see this beautiful window on a cliff's edge right at the end of the trail, which is a great reward. Big Bend is a very big park and got lots of trails, many of which are not covered here because of time, but one of the trails that we went on that we enjoyed a lot was the lower Burro Mesa Pouroff, which meanders through the desert into this cliff area with a beautiful rock formation that is a big waterfall when it rains. Just beautiful trails in this Big Bend National Park. Big Bend National Park is a little remote. It takes some more to get to because of driving across the desert, but it is a beautiful park with the mountains, the rivers, and the desert zones, which gives a lot of diversity, lots of hiking trails, lots of places to see. I hope you get a chance to come and visit because it's well worth it. We are on our way to visit all the national parks in the United States. Follow along by hitting the subscribe button below. Hit the notification bell so you know when a new video is released. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and please share it with everybody that you know.